Guys, go to hardafseltzer.com. Get some 8% seltzer shipped right to your house. We got the peach, we got the watermelon, we got the pina colada, and the blue raspberry. We're also available in over 200 stores in the state of Florida and Tennessee. And if you're heading out to the Major League ballparks this summer, make sure to check us out in the Miami Marlins Stadium, as well as Tropicana Field, home to the Tampa Bay Rays, as well as the Tampa Bay Rowdies. We are live inside all three stadiums. So if you're down in Florida this year, check us out. Go to hardafseltzer.com today and check your store locator or order them right to your house.
Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com.
What is up? Welcome back to Tomahawk'd. I am your host, Rob Fox. I am joined, as always, by Dan Holloway, Braves super fan. And we're almost there. There's one series left before the unofficial halfway mark. Everyone's past the halfway mark just a smidge, but the unofficial halfway mark of the year. The All-Star break is coming up. Before we get into that very important last series, which is the title's about or whatever, I don't think we actually mentioned that the Braves got 8 fucking All-Stars.
Yeah.
That's a shit ton. I believe that breaks our record from like 98 or something like that, when everybody, I think we got like Walt Wyson as a starting shortstop, though. I'm not necessarily sure that was what it should have been, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, he played good defense.
Yeah.
I think he hit 300 that year.
He did. That was he had his best offensive year for us, I believe, where it for him, light hitting shortstop, but yeah, had a good batting average and stuff like that. But man, 8 dudes, and I honestly like all of them deserving. I guess you could say maybe Arcia is not the starter at shortstop, all things being equal, but at the same time, I don't know that a shortstop in the National League has been better than him over the course of the year. Dansby certainly has more wins above replacement. But not as good of a hitter as Arcia's been, even though Arcia's cooled off. But everybody else, I mean, all the other starters make sense. Olsen could have been a starter, but I mean, Freeman's, I think, a fine choice, for a totally justifiable choice for starter. And obviously, Olsen deserved to be there with the amount of home runs he's hit and everything. Albies, obviously, you got to start Acuna and Murphy, who've been 2 of the best players in baseball for the first half. And then you have Elder, who I think is still the NL ERA leader.
Let's see here. Yes. Yeah, he is. He's just ahead of Kershaw.
Okay.
So a 10th of a run.
Kershaw, by the way, making a strong push for another Cy Young.
Yeah, I mean, they should honestly just LeBron him and keep signing him to 1-year deals until his fucking arm falls off at this point. It's not a bad idea. And he's going to get $20 million a year, $30 million a year, so who cares, right?
Also, like, he is not that old, right?
He's 35, but there's a lot of miles on that arm.
There is. But, I mean, Verlander's what, like 7 years older than him?
Yeah.
6 years older than him? Scherzer's 5 years older than him.
Yeah, I think Kershaw is... It's interesting. We're not going to see 300-game winners again, but there are a number of very clear Hall of Fame pitchers right now.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can find. So Verlander for sure, Zach Greinke for sure, Max Scherzer for sure, Clayton Kershaw for sure. Wainwright, maybe. I don't know about him.
I don't think he gets it. Wait, 0 awards, right?
Yeah.
No Cy Youngs, no major milestones, really.
Yeah. But that's kind of where it ends. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Bumgarner gets a look because he won World Series and stuff. But other than that, I'm not, like, the next crop of Major League Baseball pitchers that are going to be Hall of Fame eligible anytime soon, like over the next 10 years, I don't see anybody else other than those 4 guys.
Let me look at the wins of just kind of quick and dirty wins above replacement from 2008 to 2023. That is when Kershaw joined the league, right?
Yeah, 2008, yep.
So No, outside of those four, not really. That we named. Number 5 is Chris Sale. And by the way, there is a 14-point drop-off between 4 and 5. Greinke's got 60 wins above replacement on the dot. Although, unfortunately for him, he's more likely to go backwards than forwards in that number at this point. But, yeah, then you get Chris Sale, who's at 46. Cole Hamels at 45. Lester at 45. Felix Hernandez at 44.9. Wainwright at 42. And then Jacob deGrom, who accrued 42 wins above replacement in only 7 starts, actually. Yeah. Which is impressive, but... Yeah,
Kershaw is about a 3 to 4 wins above replacement pitcher on an average year. Right now, he's at 79.5, which ranks him 26th all-time. And 20th all-time is Fergie Jenkins at 84.2, so he's going to be top 20 all-time. He's definitely in. Same with Verlander. He's at 78.6, but he'll pitch probably one more year after this, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
And he's going to get above 80 as well. I think this is probably Greinke's last year, right? I don't know if he said that or not.
Yeah, he hasn't, and he's such a weirdo. You never know. He's 39, by the way. Yeah. My only assumption with him is that maybe he should reach 3,000 strikeouts this year. He's got about 54 to go.
Greinke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if he hits 3,000 strikeouts this year, he's going to hit the eject button. And he's good to go. I mean, he's got 200 wins, 3,000 strikeouts. I wonder what do you think the new win number is going to be? 250?
I don't know that anybody's getting to 250. I think maybe it just goes by wins above replacement, to be honest.
It's crazy that Kershaw only has 200. I don't know that he'll get 250.
No, he won't. I don't think so. I mean, let's say he's got 7 years left, not including this year. Right. That he's 42, 43 when he retires. Doubtful because he's had some arm trouble. Even with that liberal estimate, doubtful he's going to get 50 wins in that time period. I don't think. It is interesting to see. There aren't many pitchers above 65 that aren't in the Hall of Fame. There's Curt Schilling, who absolutely should be in the Hall. That probably is the most current egregious non-Hall of Fame player, other than maybe Andrew Jones.
Oh, yeah. It's insane. It's more egregious. Well, I don't know if it's more egregious. It's you know what's so funny about that is that like these baseball writers hold. We're just going wildly off script here, but I don't care because this actually pisses me off. These baseball writers hold these two like distinct, opposing points of view, where you could argue that they're keeping Curt Schilling out because they think he's a racist or whatever, while keeping Andrew Jones out for reasons that someone who thinks Curt Schilling is a racist would call racist.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they sort of put this, they look at Andrew Jones as sort of an oaf, lazy, low work ethic, right? He was too flashy. He was too smooth, didn't look like he was working hard enough. Does that sound like something any textbook liberal would call fucking racist when putting it on a non-white player? And then you have Curt Schilling, who, posted a lot of dumb memes or whatever, but I don't give a fuck. His play alone makes him worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. You're making some, like, half-assed political statement that's going to get wiped away when players, including a lot of non-white players, vote him into the Hall of Fame through the Veterans Committee.
Yeah, it's pretty weird, huh?
So what the fuck are you doing? Like, what the fuck even is that? It doesn't make it. It's so I mean, look, there's a million different ways that they fuck shit up voting in the Hall of Fame, so why not add 2 more to the list?
Yeah. I'm hold on a second. I'm looking for...
This is the same group of people who try not to give anyone 100% of the vote, even if they're fucking Greg Maddux or... Who was the first that got 100%? Rivera?
Yeah.
Okay, so Ken Griffey Jr. didn't get 100%.
No, he didn't. I think Rivera did, and I think Jeter may have as well. I don't remember. But of course, it was a fucking Yankee that got 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
A closer.
I don't understand how you can... Like, if that is indeed the attitude towards Andrew Jones, that he just didn't... that he didn't work hard enough.
Or didn't seem like he was working hard.
Yeah, it's like he has let's see, defensive run save for career. If you look above him on the list, it's shortstops and catchers only. Right. He's got 24.4. Willie Mays, who's widely considered to be the best outfielder of all time, defensive outfielder of all time, has 18.2.
He'd be on the short list for offensive as well.
Sure, yeah, but just for defensive purposes.
Yeah.
Willie Mays isn't even in the same ballpark defensively on any statistical category. I think Andrew, for not defensive run saves, but what's the other one? Outs above average or some shit like that?
There's outs above average and runs above average.
Yeah, something like that. I think one of those two, Andrew Jones is like 30 or 40 ahead of everybody else, including Willie Mays. I think Willie Mays is second. So he's very clearly the best.
No, but it was too easy for him, you know?
Yeah, it looked too easy. But then the other, like, there's another guy called Jim McCormick who's got 76.2 WAR. He retired in 1887. Sure, yeah. So who cares? And then there's Max Scherzer, who's still active. Rick Ruchel. I don't remember him much. I think he retired in the early 90s. But never won any awards either. I think the closest he came to Cy Young was third place.
Okay.
And he didn't really I don't even know if he had a 21. He had 121 season. He won 214 games, but I think back then when he would have been eligible, the 300 wins was kind of the status quo. They didn't really know what wins above replacement were back then.
For sure.
And then one kind of head scratcher is Kevin Brown. He's the 40th all time in wins above replacement. I kind of feel like he should be in the Hall of Fame.
What's his
67.8. But he only won 211 games. He's kind of in that middle ground. He had 2,400 strikeouts. He's like in that middle ground between the 300 wins and the wins above replacement group.
Yep.
And he's just kind of left out.
Dude, 67. I mean, that poor guy. There's a lot of hitters that get from that era undervalued because everyone was a fucking science experiment. And, you know, roided out of their minds, hitting like a good example of that is John Olerud would be, I think, much more valued in today's game. People talk about it a lot. But Kevin Brown was the same way. I mean, dude, you had, I mean, it might be the greatest era for pitchers of all time. If the fact that we're looking right now and there's only 4 surefire Hall of Famers, like think about just the 3 on the Braves alone.
Yeah.
And then you've got
Pedro,
Clemens, Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck. The fact that you had
Mike Mussina was a pretty clear Hall of Famer, I think.
Mm-hmm. And most of those years in their primes, Kevin Brown was almost or as good of a pitcher as pretty much all of them.
Yeah. I mean, Clemens didn't help anybody out by winning 7 Cy Young Awards.
Right.
You know what I mean? He kind of fucked a lot of people over. Olerud won a batting title, which is like, as far as black ink goes for a Hall of Fame monitor, that's pretty good. He also did it in a year when his team won their 2nd consecutive World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird that he didn't get a look, to be honest.
He just, I mean, for the time, was not sexy. And plus, he was a bitch. He wore a helmet out in the field.
Well, that's because he had some kind of brain retardation
bitch
of some sort. But
he
had 58 wins above replacement. That's pretty good.
58 and a 130 WRC plus for a career. That's what do you want this man to do? He didn't slug very much. I'll say that 465 slugging percentage, but a 398 career on base percentage, 295 career. What do you call it? Batting average. Yeah, won a couple World Series, was on those good Mets teams of the late. I guess maybe if he had stuck around with the Mets for that second World Series or for their World Series run in 2000, but he had moved to Seattle by then. But yeah, he won 2 World Series with the fucking Blue Jays. I don't know what you want out of this guy. Just his brothers probably never hit more than 20. He never hit 25 home runs in a season.
Who, John Olerud?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was a doubles guy.
Yep.
That was value. I mean, so Mark Grace is the same way. I think Olerud was probably a little bit better than Mark Grace.
Olerud has on the button 500 doubles.
That's a lot of doubles.
That's a shit ton of doubles.
I guess Mark Grace hit 300 for his career.
Okay.
But he's not in the Hall of Fame either.
How many hits does he have?
And he won a World Series too.
Grace did?
Yeah, with he was on that 2001 Diamondbacks
Okay,
team.
yeah.
He has 24-45, so a couple 100 more than Olerud.
Yeah.
He never sniffed an MVP though. Never had a batting title. I think the only thing he ever led the league in was grounding into double plays.
Look, I'll say this. I'm fine with keeping John Olerud out of the Hall of Fame, but if he's not in the Hall of Fame, that's about right where the cutoff is.
Yeah.
Because that's a really fucking good career.
Mm-hmm.
That's not like you were good for 5 years or, oh, remember that guy? It's not like Mo Vaughn or something, right? Like, this guy was a fuck. And I think today, in today's game, he would be worth a lot more. He was really good defensively, too, as far as I know.
Olerud, yeah, he was extremely good defensively.
But yeah, that, anyway.
Yeah, who cares? So the Braves are second in Major League Baseball in batting average. They're 1 point behind the Rangers, who are on the decline now. So we'll see. Maybe we catch up with them. But it's 275 to 274 right now. First in home runs, third in RBI, and then obviously first in wins, but second in ERA and fourth in saves. So looking pretty when you're in the top 5 on the offensive and defensive side, that's usually pretty good.
Goddamn insane. We play the Rays, who, by the way, are also they're definitely top 3 offensively. I know we're tied with them for Team WRC Plus to lead the league, and then they don't pitch too bad neither. I think they're certainly a top 10 team in Team ERA. Should be a good series. Starting.
Yeah, they're fourth.
Okay.
They're about 10 points behind us.
Okay. Yeah, they're fucking great. Should be a really good series this weekend.
Yeah. They're also like I think 7th in home runs or 6th in their 3rd in RBI, so they're right there with us. On both sides, we're obviously quite a bit better on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. They got off to a crazy hot start, but this is not a not good team. This is a very good team.
This is a fucking ridiculous team. I was looking down the
and Kevin Cash is the best manager in baseball by far.
Yes,
like nobody's even close to that guy.
I would agree with that. I was looking up and down their lineup and everything. So we get, thankfully, the heart of our rotation going against them. Mm-hmm. Morton tonight, Strider tomorrow, Bryce Elder on Sunday. So 2 All-Stars and then Uncle Charlie. But, man, this Tampa Bay lineup fucks. Well, actually, first I'll say we miss, McClanahan?
Yeah, did he pitch yesterday or did they skip him and bring somebody up because he's on the IL?
He is, he's missing the All-Star game. So we miss him either way, but we still catch, Eflin.
Eflin on the back end. So and Taj Bradley is the other one. Taj Bradley, who cares? Glasnow's having kind of a down year, but you never know that guy. He might come out and strike out 10 people.
Yeah, he's still very legit, but man, their lineup. We're going to talk about how much the Braves lineup fucks in a minute, but this Rays lineup, it fucks pretty good on its own. We are tied, like I said, for WRC plus. But goddamn, dude, Wander Franco, Randy Arozarena, and Luke Raley, all Isaac Pedreas, Yandy Diaz, Josh Lowe, all of those dudes are over 120 in WRC plus, and then you've got Jose Siri and Harold Ramirez at 119. I like it's just these dudes don't fucking stop. And hey, our old friend Christian Betancourt is on the team catching baseballs for him.
Yeah, he's not bad. Speaking of, not to get too far off topic here, but speaking of reclamation projects, Christian Pache is playing good baseball now. Finally.
Oh, good.
So somebody changed, and he's with the Phillies too, which kind of pisses me off. But
right,
the Phillies hitting coach, I can't remember the guy's name. I looked it up the other day. But changed something in Pache's swing, and now this motherfucker's hitting 310.
And how many at bats?
Not many. It's like 80 at bats, I think. Or no, it's 40. 40 at bats.
Kevin Long.
Kevin Long, yeah, that's it.
He look, I'm not gonna regret letting him go anytime soon because he was part of the Matt Olson deal. So whatever, got to give it up. And if he hadn't been traded, we might have ended up trading Michael Harris.
Yeah, fuck that. But Christian Betancourt's having a pretty. He's a good middle of the road. He's a very good defensive catcher. That's why that's the kind of stuff. Like Tampa Bay plays like an old school National League team, like a National League team from the 80s or 90s. That's kind of how they set their lineup. So they've got they're good. They're good. We're a step ahead, I think, but this is that kind of. I don't think this is a very meaningful series.
No, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's still just a series in the middle of the regular season, right before the All-Star break. You can use it as a measuring stick, but like to an extent, but you always really read too much into it, right? I mean, we I think beat the Phillies pretty good last year during the regular season, and then they came out and beat us 3-1 in the playoffs. So it is what it is. As far as that goes, but it'll be interesting to see how they match up because you do get the heart basically of both teams in terms of rotation, and obviously the lineups are going to be there.
And both the rotations aren't, but both lineups are more or less healthy as well. Now, very different recent success for these two teams. The Braves have won I think 28 of their last 35 games or 34 games or some shit like that.
Yeah, I think it's out of 34 because we lost 5 games in the last month-ish time.
And 9-1 in the last 10, and the Rays have lost 5 in a row.
Got swept by the Phils.
Yeah.
Look out.
The Fightins, yeah. It's the Rays are a good team. You're always going to have struggle periods during the season. I mean, we got swept by the fucking Athletics. We got swept by the A's.
Did we get swept? No, I think we just lost the series.
Maybe it was the series, but who did we get swept by? The Diamondbacks or something?
We got swept by the
good.
Astros.
Oh, the Astros, that's right. But the Astros were all banged up. They were like...
Yeah, they're still banged up.
Yeah. So shit happens. I don't read too much into that either. But this is a good... I think this is just a fun series for everybody.
For sure.
To be honest. It gives... I like that our lineup is going to get to face... and just see live action against their best pitchers, because if we do meet in the World Series, that's what you want to have. You want to have some experience there. That's all I care about in this series,
and it's
getting good at bats against their top 3 guys.
Hopefully you see them a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Because we've seen McClanahan a bunch already.
Yeah.
I think we actually faced him earlier in the year, didn't we?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
This is our second series against the Rays.
I just want to get good at bats, good reads off of these 3 starting pitchers, and then maybe get a bit of a book on some of the key bullpen guys. So even if we lose 2 out of 3 in this, and we get to see their closer a couple times and their setup guy a couple times, I'm not going to be mad about that. I think that's good. That's good. It's a very
it is kind of almost if you do end up facing them in the World Series, it is almost a disservice to that effort. If in the 3-game series you just beat the shit out of them every game.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see 3 blowouts or anything.
Because all you're going to see is their mop-up guys.
Yeah.
You're only going to get 1 round through the rotation, or maybe 1 or 2 rounds through the lineup against most of their good pitchers. Yeah. And by the way, the Rays, they don't really make moves. They might pick up a reliever or 2. That's kind of within their bandwidth at the deadline. But this is almost certainly going to be their guys in the playoffs. This is in terms of the rotation, and probably
definitely in the rotation. Just add McClanahan, who we've seen in previous years as well, but we've seen plenty of him.
Yeah,
but they maybe one arm sometimes. They don't make. I mean, it would be funny if they went out and traded for Ohtani or something, but I don't think the Rays have anybody to trade for him. Yeah, that's what I want to see. I want our hitters to see their starting pitchers as much as possible in the next 3 games. That's all I would care about.
I would imagine we're fairly familiar with Eflin because he's a former Philly.
Yeah.
But the other guys and the bullpen guys, I think for that purpose of you almost do want close games so you can get a book on their bullpen dudes in particular. Glass now, I assume, our guys have faced before a fair amount too.
He's been around for a while, so yeah, probably seen him a few times.
Yeah.
Actually, can look because he's pitching tonight, right?
Yes, Glasnow's tonight.
Have they announced
Apple TV?
They probably announced the starters, or the starting lineups, but nope, not yet. Dumb. I like to see the head-to-head matchup and see who's faced him before. But either way, this is a good opportunity, and for our pitchers, everybody's kind of in a different spot right now. Elder is Morton is just doing Morton shit. I don't think he's working on anything. He just goes out and eats up innings, which is helpful right now.
Well, he's eating up innings effectively this year.
Right now, for sure, effectively.
He's pitching fantastically this year.
Yeah. Elder has had a bit of a command issue lately, 2 4 and 2 walks in his last 3 starts. So one of the 4 was intentional against the Twins, but I'm sure that he's wanting to dial back and get that command a little bit and make them put the ball in play and stuff, which is good. I mean, he's striking out like somewhere between 1 and 6 people a game. He doesn't give a shit about strikeouts, so not worried about that. And then in Game 3, I think it's who's pitching Game 3
for them.
For us,
Elder's Game 3, Strider's Game 2.
Oh, Strider's Game 2. So they're flip flopping the rotation here a little bit. All right, yeah, that's good. You know, I read something for Strider. I think he is actually working on stuff. He's been trying to become more efficient.
Yes.
And we saw that period where he struggled. He was trying to. There was a decrease in velocity. There's nothing structurally wrong with him. I think he was trying to pitch to contact a little bit. It's like don't turn your strength into a weakness, dude.
Yeah.
That's not a good idea. Smoltz used to talk about that all the time. If I'm facing like Albert Bell and he loves fastballs low, but my best pitch is fastball low, I'm still throwing that pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's still hard to hit Major League pitching, and I'm going to throw my best pitch. And Strider kind of came out on the other side. He had a couple of rough games. He gave up, 8 and 5 runs in back-to-back games or something like that.
Yeah, getting smacked around a little bit.
But since then, he's been opening it up a little more, 6, 7, and 6.2 innings. I know he wants to, he said it on the post-game interview after that Marlins win the other day. He wants to get as deep into the game as possible. That's what he's working on right now. And it's just kind of that's what you use the regular season for, to try to figure that shit out.
With him, too, part of it is certainly probably command and efficiency, but another part of it is also just people forget, maybe he even forgets or doesn't consider it because he's just so focused on being excellent that he doesn't want to make excuses. But he hasn't really ever pitched that much.
Yeah, this is
he barely pitched in college. He, last year we didn't need him to go deep in the game, so it was just all right, Spence, go out there and fucking let it rip for 5 2/3. So a certain amount of it, too, is probably just his efficiency or lack thereof might be born out of lack of sort of just game stamina. He's maybe not being in game shape. So it might just be pitching yourself into that efficiency with better, because the more tired you get, the less efficient you're going to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to, here we go. 100. So, including college and minor leagues, he's pitched in 154 games. That's not a lot.
That's nothing.
No. That's 5 seasons worth of starts, basically, but he's in his 3rd season. Well, I guess 2nd season, but yeah, he's getting there. He's 24. He also had a TJ when he was at college, so I think it was 19 at the time.
Right.
Yeah, it's just... For him, I think the whip is the big thing. His whip is 10 points higher this year than it was last year. Mm-hmm. But the strikeout to walk ratio is up a little bit. So he's definitely trending in the right direction. I think, it's still major league hitters that you're facing.
100%. Although I will say this, Elder has only pitched in 113 games at all levels.
That's not surprising, but he probably pitched a lot in high school. I don't think Strider pitched much in high school.
Yeah, I don't have the high school numbers, but he was 3 years in college, 3 years in the minors, two seasons in the majors, but also was in the minors for one of those seasons, and then it just says one other. I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
but,
who knows?
Is what
Japan
it is.
maybe, or it's the Arizona Fall League or some shit.
Oh, Summer League is I guess what they're counting. I don't know where, but whatever. Cape Cod. He pitched in Cape Cod. But yeah, I'm not worried about Spencer, and also I don't know. Elder's just the type of dude that he's just a different guy than Strider. I'm not worried about Spence.
I'm not worried about any of these guys, and I'm not. It was Soroka looked good as well. Against Cleveland, who they're pretty light hitting, but that was definitely his best start so far this year.
But you know what? The A's are light hitting too, and they tagged him for a couple. So it's good to see Soroka. And by the way, Soroka pitching out of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, he pitched some pretty high stress innings, and this is like he's not going to be at full strength as a pitcher, and probably until mid to late August, if I had to guess, right? So, not too concerned about that. Oh,
No, not at all.
The only thing that it's not even concerned. I'm just kind of curious what's going to happen to this rotation in September and October, to be honest, because it's getting pretty crowded.
Yeah.
I know right now Colby Allard's the odd man out for sure when Max comes back. But,
I think so, yeah.
it's not easy to make that decision because he's got a .93 whip. It's like
I think they've been pretty agnostic about who they want to be in the rotation. You know what I mean? It's not like, man, we really want this guy to work at the expense of someone else. But my assumption is based on previous results and what I think they know the ceilings are. They probably really, really want Soroka to work.
Soroka and Kyle Wright as well.
Yeah.
So I think Kyle Wright's coming back later this month. That's my understanding. Or I'm sorry, Max is coming back later this month, right after the All-Star break, and then Kyle's going to come back sometime in early August. That's what I've been hearing. I don't know if that's enough time for him to really get in a groove, to be honest.
So my assumption is you won't see Wright or Soroka in the playoff rotation. Now, the only way you might see Soroka in the playoff rotation, in my mind, is if he goes bananas in the second half, just really finds his groove again, and he's looking real good. And Morton no matter what Morton does, he just continues to be Charlie Morton. And then he's, like we've talked about before in the show, the more flexible arm in terms of being able to put him in the bullpen as a sort of put out a fire type of guy, get the game back on steady ground. You know, like maybe whomever we're playing in the division series has like a 4-run second inning, right? And it's just like, all right, Mike doesn't have it today. Put Charlie in. Let's get this settled down so the game doesn't get out of hand. I could see Charlie moving to that role if Soroka really gets going in the second half. Which sucks for Charlie because he's done everything to earn a rotation spot in the playoffs.
He's getting paid $20 million, and if he gets another World Series ring, who gives a shit?
Right. He's got two, I believe.
You don't get any extra credit for being the starter in a fucking playoff game.
True. And like I said, that's what he did for the Astros. I am really excited, though. The other thing I'm really excited for is obviously our hitters seeing their pitching, but Morton's Morton, not worried about that, but Strider and Elder facing probably the best lineup they've ever faced in their careers.
Probably, yeah. I don't know that. Yeah, that's probably right. Let me see.
I mean, damn close to it, if not. Certainly, I don't know if Elder faced the Phillies last year. Obviously, Strider did several times. That Phillies lineup did and still does more or less fuck.
Elder pitched against the Phillies on June 22nd.
This year?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is, they're not as good this year as they were last year, but 7 innings, no runs against them.
Sweet.
Other good offenses, Elder pitched against the Dodgers on May 24th. 6 innings, 1 run on 1 solo home run. Gave up 2 against Toronto, which is a great offense. 1 against Baltimore, which is a great offense. I don't know. It seems like he might be all right.
Yeah, he's probably good to go.
Strider is, I mean, I would throw him out there against anybody.
I think
he's got a puncher's chance no matter what.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about the Rays lineup to me compared to those other lineups which have big hitters or whatever, this is probably, I'll put it this way, the most relentless lineup they'll face.
Yeah, I mean the Dodgers in any given year are pretty relentless.
Yeah, I would put them in that conversation as well.
I mean Strider pitched against the Dodgers as well, gave up 2 earned, 4 total runs on. There were a couple of errors in that game.
Didn't we played the Rangers this year? Did these guys pitch against them?
Yeah, Strider pitched against him on the 17th and gave up 4 runs, 2 2-run home runs, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Elder pitched against the Rangers last year, I remember. I believe I was at that game, actually. And then I don't remember if he pitched against them this year or not.
Let's see, against the Rangers. No, he pitched against Toronto and gave up 2.
Okay.
Toronto's got a pretty good lineup, too.
Pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the Rays are going to toss out guys like us, right? I mean, it's 1 through 9. Everybody's over 100 on the WRC Plus. I mean, just fucking and good at bats. Obviously, the Rays have almost certainly the best analytics department in baseball. So maybe the Dodgers are better, and they stole all their guys from the Rays. So, like, it's the type of thing where it's not just like the talent's there, obviously, but the fucking mental edge is obscene. It's just going to be a tough test. I'm excited to see Strider and Elder go. Morton, I don't care because he's fucking Charlie Morton. He's just old Uncle Charlie. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and just on the competitive side in the National League right now, we're pretty much cruising for the rest of this year.
Yeah. What are we up, like 7 games on the second place team for home field?
Yeah, and it's I believe that's I think that's Arizona, and
with whom we have the tiebreak.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I think Arizona will probably see a slide sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm in no way counting out the Dodgers winning that division.
Well, yeah, we'll see about that. The Dodgers are not as good this year as they were last year.
Oh, their pitching's a nightmare.
Yeah, Urias is having a terrible season. As a matter of fact, the only guy having a good season in their starting lineup is Kershaw right now, and he's on the IL. But I think that IL stint is just to give him a bookended rest during the All-Star break.
Yeah.
But Bobby Miller is starting for them. He's got like a 4.50 ERA. Gonsolin's ERA is up this year. Dustin May is going to get another elbow surgery now. He's dead. I mean, they're not looking great here.
No. And then I don't even know what's in the bullpen at this point. I guess they've
got Gratterall. He's always good.
Is he still there? Is Blake still there?
I don't know where. He must be injured because he's on the list. But Gratterall is always good.
Yeah,
he's one of the best relief pitchers in baseball. And their closer is Evan Phillips, who's been pretty fucking good this year.
Okay. Might as well just move on then to get really into it in terms of relentless lineups.
Well, you want to do a sponsor first?
Yeah, we can do a sponsor. First, let's talk about MyBookie. MyBookie.com. Use the promo code DrinkinBros to double your first deposit up to $1,000. We're betting a lot of baseball right now because it's summertime. Delco Dan actually told me the other day he believes baseball is back, and he's hit at least one parlay on baseball this year. You betting any more?
Yeah, every day.
Do you really bet baseball every day?
Yeah.
That's fucking great. I haven't done it in like a week, but I will probably check it out again after the All-Star break. What are the series we got going into the All-Star break? If there's anything good in terms of like lopsidedness, Rangers playing the Nats, love that.
Yeah. Blue Jays Tigers is probably the best. If you're really looking to bet, the only problem is Alex Manoah is going in Game 1 tonight for the Blue Jays, and this is the worst year. This is his sophomore year, right? Because he just got drafted a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
No, it's his third year. Yeah, I mean, like he had 2 really good seasons and 105 WHIP, .99 WHIP in consecutive seasons, and this year it's 190.
Yeah, just fell off a
It's
fucking
like, what
cliff.
the hell happened to you? It seems like he's probably heading for some kind of surgery at some point. But the back end of that series should be good because the Tigers are one of the worst teams I've ever seen in my life.
They're garbage. Maybe not tonight with the Blue Jays, and but I mean, you also get here's a series I like. You might need to just in general. Not everyone's going to sweep, so you might lose these one night. But in general, Blue Jays Tigers after tonight. Rangers Nats.
I like Cubs Yankees too. Cubs are really bad on the road. They're in the back end of their bullpen.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, the back end of their rotation for this series to close out the first half. And the Yankees are the only they're really good at home.
Is Rodon making his debut today?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll take the Yankees over the Cubs, and then the Giants are playing the Rockies at home for that series. Love that.
Cardinals, White Sox, that's the worst. Don't even look at that.
No.
That's the worst because there's parity, but it's also 2 shitty-ass teams. But Pirates at Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are a little dodgy at home. They're almost even at home. They play better on the road. But they have the front end of their rotation going. Zach Gallen, and then so on against the Pirates at home. that's probably a good one to bet on as well.
Yeah, I like the D-backs tonight for sure. I mean, they're facing Rich Hill, who's having he's got a 4.50 ERA, but Rich Hill can jump up and bite you sometimes.
And then the other one where there's a very likely sweep coming is Rockies at Giants.
Yeah.
I think where the Giants are in the middle to back into their rotation to start this series off, but the Rockies are the worst team in baseball.
They're so fucking bad.
It's like we make fun of the A's for being a AAA team or a farm system for other baseball teams, but this Rockies team I think might be the worst team I've ever seen.
I don't
like what was that Tigers team from
like 05?
Yeah, it was middle 2000s. They won like fucking 38 games or something.
Yeah, they lost over 100 games. I think it was 04 or 05, and then. I mean, they were just in like a gross rebuild. Yeah, they're pretty fucking bad.
They lost 119 games. Good Lord.
It's fucking brutal. I don't hate Houston against Seattle. I don't bet it tonight. Seattle has Luis Castillo going. But Framber Valdez is pitching for Houston tomorrow.
Yeah, he's the best pitcher in baseball right now. He's the best starting pitcher in baseball right now.
So I like Houston over Seattle on Saturday.
It's close between him and Gallen, but Valdez has the stats.
Yeah.
So
he's absolutely filthy.
Another relatively mediocre series. Like here's what I will do. Reds at Brewers. The Reds are on fucking fire still.
Yeah.
They play so much better on the road than they do at home for some reason. I don't know why. Because it's because their pitching kind of sucks. But that ballpark, the Great American Ballpark, is like a fucking T-ball field. It's like 215 to all corners or some shit. It's the most. Have you ever been there?
No.
It's like, I don't know. You can feel it. It feels like a home run derby every time you go there.
Yeah.
Everything's all open and warm and shit.
That series was so crazy we had with them. The most entertaining series of the year, maybe in all of baseball, let alone for the Braves. But like, I just saw so many Braves fans like, God damn, Matt Olson can't stop hitting home runs. I'm like, dude, he hit 2 pop flies.
Yeah.
Like those were not home runs in any other ballpark.
But this is a good series to gamble on, I think. Milwaukee's stadium is, and you can see it reflected in the over/under, 7.5 instead of what a typical in a hitter's park anyways. Usually you're going to see 8.5. Brewers Stadium is fine to hit in. It's not good or bad. It's kind of, I think it's average, but the Reds have Abbott going tonight, and this dude is just crushing it. Nobody's seen him yet. Mm-hmm. He's young, so. Pretty much every time he goes, he's got like a .88 ER
or
.88 whip.
The Reds are dogs.
Yeah, I know. I'm betting the Reds. It's because Corbin Burns is pitching, which fair enough, right? Burns is historically been a very good pitcher, and just let me remind you that in his last 4 starts, he's given up 3, 7, 4, and 2 runs. And the 2 runs, the game he actually won, was the Pirates. So you give up 4 runs to Cleveland, you give up 7 to Arizona, and 3 to Minnesota, and you're going to put that guy. He's been giving up a lot of home runs too, so you're going to put that guy up against this Cincinnati lineup that's just crushing the ball right now. Yeah, I'm taking Cincinnati as a dog tonight.
How do you like the Braves Rays over under at 8.5?
Who's Morton tonight?
Yeah.
I'll take the over on that. Probably.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'll probably parlay that with the Reds game and a Braves win. Although the Braves are probably, they're on the road. Are they dogs?
The Braves are...
No, they're favored.
Yeah.
Minus 115.
Yeah. They're. And,
I won't take that. I think the Braves win this game, but
yeah.
I'll take the over because I think good chance Morton and Glasnow both give up multi-home runs.
Yep.
That's kind of the book on these two dudes. If Morton doesn't walk people, he probably gives up 1 or 2 solo home runs in this game.
Yeah. If
he walks people, he's giving up 1, 2 or 3 run home run. That's his typical start. Glasnow's been the same this year. He's got a 4.50 ERA, so yeah, I'm taking the over.
Yeah, I like that. But yeah, mybookie.com. Use the promo code DrinkerBros to double your first deposit. up to $1,000. We touched on this a little bit, but I just want to dive into the numbers. You actually texted me while I was writing this episode, unbeknownst to you, and not only writing this episode, but writing this specific part of the episode. You texted me and you go, the Braves have for this season, a team OPS of 842, which is the 5th highest since World War II. Now, 5th highest since World War II, that's like, wow, that's crazy, that's so good, and it fucking is. But let me give you some more modern immediate lens.
Well, all the pre-World War II teams, it wasn't the early 40s, right, or whatever the fuck. It was the late 20s and early 30s New York Yankees murderers row lineup.
Right.
They hold like 5 of those slots.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But just to give it like through a more modern lens, right? An 842 OPS means that Ozzy Albies OPS is literally 842, right? So imagine if every single hitter in your lineup was Ozzy Albies. That's an insane lineup, right? That alone, Albies, who's pushing 30 home runs, has like 70 RBI or something crazy like that. But to even put another spin on this, the Braves lineup, the entire Braves fucking lineup, and this includes the bench hitters, right? Like Pilar and Hilliard and shit like that. This is everyone that's taken at bats. Mm-hmm. They are hitting as a unit better than Nolan Arenado or Pete Alonso or one guy we're playing this weekend, Wander Franco.
Pete Alonso is like, remember that character in the Natural that was like alleged Babe Ruth guy?
Yeah.
Where all he did was travel around and hit home runs. He's like a fucking carnival act at this point. I'm over these dudes that hit 200 and hit fucking 40 home runs. I don't care about that, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
I can live with 220 if you're getting on base.
yeah.
And, you're walking a lot and hitting home runs a lot. But yeah, these dudes who, no offense to the Phillies, but Kyle Schwarber needs to get his fat ass over the Mendoza line.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Like, god damn, dude.
It's been a minute.
And considering he can't play fucking defense, and he can't be the DH because Bryce Harper can only DH at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do something, man.
Yeah. I don't. So Alonso's on pace for like a 3.4 wins above replacement. That's not a bad year, but when you're on pace for 48 to 50 home runs and you're only going to have 3.5 wins above replacement, that is a fucking problem, man.
That means
those are vanity stats. You may as well be Russell Westbrook at this point.
Yep. That's a fucking fantastic way to put it.
But that's the Mets.
Yeah.
It's the fucking Mets, dude.
Yeah.
God, every
he's
time they
putting
do something, all my Mets fan friends, like Ari, for example.
Yeah.
Ari Ginsberg. He's like, oh, I'm looking forward to the Mets season. I'm like, you shouldn't be. They could sign Jesus and still lose. They could let them sign Ohtani. Let them. If they sign Ohtani, that'll be fucking great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, fucking sign him. Because that means if it was the Marlins, which they could never afford him, but if it's the Phillies, that would be a problem.
Yes.
If it's the Mets, I don't give a shit.
It doesn't matter.
Don't care.
It's just not. It's not gonna hurt you. It's gonna hurt baseball.
Yeah.
It won't hurt the Braves.
But for OPS, for team OPS, modern, and I mean like within the last like 30 years, this is the company the Braves are in. Within a couple of percentage points, within 10%, like 0.01.
Yeah.
You're talking about, let's see, the 96 and 99 Indians.
Who were goddamn insane.
Albert Bell and fucking Hall of Famer Eddie Murray was their 5th hitter, I think.
Kenny
Lofton, Manny Ramirez, Omar Vizquel, Jim Tomei. I mean, it's like, all right, cool. And then the 2003 Red Sox and the 2019 Astros and the 96 Mariners, which was... again,
2 Hall of Famers.
Plus Jay Buhner. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's like 5 teams.
Plus, I think
in the last 4 years.
Was like Brett Boone still on that team?
In 96 he was. I think he was.
I know he was on the 01 team that set the record. I'm trying to remember. Oh, no, he was on the Reds at that point. Sorry. He played for the Mariners after the Braves.
Let's see. They had Ken Griffey Jr., Alex Rodriguez, who had a 9.4 wins above replacement that year.
I forgot about it. Somehow I forgot about A-Rod on that
Edgar
team.
Martinez, Jay Buhner, Dan Wilson, I believe was their catcher, right? Yeah, he had a 3.4 wins above replacement.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was... They had Mark Whitten, who was he the last guy to hit 4 home runs in a game? Is it still him?
No, Green or whatever. Or who was that dude?
Sean Green?
Yeah, Sean Green hit 4 homers.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Well, they also had a young Paul Sorrento on their team before I don't think he really broke out. Yeah, he had like 23. Well, he had 93 RBI that year, but he didn't really get crazy until he went over to the, what do you call it? Well, no, I guess the Mariners, those were his 2 best years. Anyways, he was also on one of those Cleveland teams that had all the crazy stats. But yeah, that was 3. Well, technically, A-Rod's not a Hall of Famer, but let's be real. Like, he's putting up Hall of Fame numbers.
Right.
So you had 2 guys. This is fucking crazy, just looking at these numbers. So Edgar Martinez that year, 327, 26 home runs, 103 RBI. Jay Buhner, 271, 44, and 138. Ken Griffey Jr., 303, 49, and 140.
Yeah. Good Lord.
A-Rod, 358, 36, and 123. Paul Sorrento, 289, 23, 93. And then their catcher, who hit, I think, 7th in that lineup, or 8th in that lineup, 285, 18, and 83. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Just
You don't see lineups like that anymore, but our team OPS right now is .008 behind them.
yeah.
So that's how good this Braves team is.
I mean, and to keep putting this in perspective of, like we say on this show all the time, an OPS over 800, you're having a good year hitting. You are a good hitter if you have an OPS over 800. There are only 57 players in Major League Baseball with an OPS over 800. The Braves are at 842. There are only 30 players, not including Albies, who we're tied with, who have an OPS higher than the Braves as a team. That's fucking crazy.
It's pretty wild. But, what are you going to do?
Just win the whole fucking thing. And that's what I want to talk about next.
Well, the next highest OPS in baseball is the Rangers, right? They're having a great offensive year. Their pitching is suspect, but they're having a great offensive year. They're 40 points behind us in OPS.
Right. And by the way, an 800 team OPS is also really fucking good.
And then the next team beyond them is 16 points behind them. So
the Rays?
There's 56 points between. Yeah, it's the Rays. 56 points between us and the 3rd place team.
It's fucking insane. It's goddamn insane. And every single hitter on the Braves has a WRC plus over 100, except for Michael Harris, who in June had a 167 WRC plus. He's doing fine.
The Braves slugging percentage is 500
as a team.
Yeah,
it's
499. But let's be real.
That's insane. That's fucking insane.
Yeah, spoiled. Hopefully, it's not one of those Golden State Warriors 73 win season situations.
That's what I wanted to talk about next. I was thinking about this the other day. I've said this on the show a lot. I said this when we were talking in 2021 about should the Braves punt on 2021 after the Acuna injury or go for it. And I was like, just punch your ticket, man. The fucking playoffs are a crapshoot. You just got to get in. But I was thinking about it the other day because I was getting worried. I was like, yeah, we're crushing it in the regular season. This is all well and good. We crushed it in the regular season last year, and we lost in the first round. And I'm a fucking Braves fan, so I've seen the best regular season teams you can possibly imagine year after year after year not win the World Series, right? And I think there was a time period when it certainly was a bit of a crapshoot to win in the expanded playoffs, the wild card era and on playoffs. And I think a lot of that is a little bit front loaded with the way people used to manage versus how they manage currently, how they used to roster construct versus how they roster construct now and stuff like that. And I just kept thinking about it, and I was like, last year's World Series, there wasn't really, the Phillies were a wild card team, but it wasn't really like that crazy of a matchup. And I was like, neither was, like, people say the Braves were because they have 88 wins, but I mean, like, that was the same team that won 100 the next year and won 90, whatever. And so I started like thinking, and they played the Astros, who were the fucking Astros. So I started going through the list, and I fully retract everything I said about the playoffs. Fuck the lottery. It's not a lottery anymore. I'm going to run through the last 7 World Series.
Okay.
Every team, the teams that were matched up. All right. Last year, you have the Astros versus the Phillies. The Astros, they're the Astros. Enough fucking said. That was like their 3rd fucking pennant. They're a goddamn dynasty at this point. Don't even need to talk about them. We all know they're fucking great. The Phillies, they were loaded. They underperformed in the regular season, but I'm sorry, the top of that rotation with Nola and Wheeler, that is as good as any top of the rotation in baseball, and Ranger Suarez as a third isn't.
And he was good in the fucking playoffs last year, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nola stinks.
What?
Nola stinks.
This year is not great. But
Right.
Rangers are ace.
I'm talking last year, though. And then you had
Ranger Suarez had a 1 whip and a 1.23 ERA in 5 starts
in the playoffs.
Yeah,
he was deadly.
Yeah.
And that lineup was absolutely fantastic
Mm-hmm.
with Harper, Schwarber, Bohm. I mean, all the they had a deep lineup. Their only thing that we ever talked about with them was we weren't necessarily sure about the bullpen, but the bullpen wasn't bad. It was kind of mid, and then their defense was bad, but they ended up patching that up. And by the way, if there's one thing that I would want to go in, if I had to choose one thing to suck ass going into the playoffs, I'll take defense, because especially with their situation where it was a range problem, right?
Yeah, it was. But the biggest defensive defect on that team, aside from probably, I don't know that Stott is a starting shortstop in Major League Baseball, to be honest. And now they've got Trey Turner, which obviously is an upgrade.
Yeah.
And Stott's back over at second base where he belongs. But Castellanos is probably their weakest link.
That's another bat, by the way.
But
And
he fucking crushes the ball. And then Schwarber in left is probably, I guess he's probably the weakest, but Castellanos fixed his defensive problems.
Yes.
I don't know what his DRS or any of his defensive metrics are this year, but and I've seen him play a couple times this year. I've seen him make a lot more good plays than I'm used to him making.
100%. And so that team was very, very, very good. Not as good as the Braves, but good enough to justifiably make the fucking World Series, right? Now let's go back to 2021. Astros, don't need to talk about them.
Yeah.
The Braves, right? That team won 88 games. The Braves are the most recent example of people being like, well, anything can happen in the playoffs. Throw their record that year out the fucking window.
Yeah.
They were hurt for most of the year. They won 100 games the year after. They won 97 games in 2019. And in the COVID year, their winning percentage over a full season would have been like a 94-95 win pace, right?
Mm-hmm.
This team was fucking good. It's the same team we have now. It's a little bit of a lesser version of the same team we have now, but it was a really, really fucking good team. They had the reigning MVP on the team. They had a dude who finished second in Cy Young in the next. I mean, it's just that team was loaded, right? Let's go to 2020, the COVID year. Dodgers, they're the fucking Dodgers. The Rays, cheap, but always a pretty deep team.
Yeah, they're always competitive in the playoffs.
2019, the Astros, again, don't need to talk about them. Dynasty. Let's talk about the Nats, all right? They were the wild card team, yes, but they were a 93-win team.
And more importantly, they had just gotten rid of Bryce Harper.
Yes, always huge.
Yeah, so as soon as the Phillies trade him, you guys are going to win.
You guys are going to rip one off,
For
100%.
sure. But anyways, yeah, Juan Soto, Anthony Rendon, Trey Turner. I mean, that was a fucking nice.
Howie Kendrick.
Yeah.
And then their top of the rotation was Scherzer and Strasburg when he was still alive. Strasburg, who won the World Series MVP. That team was really fucking good. It's a 93-win team. This wasn't the 2006 Cardinals, who, by the way, in their own right, weren't as bad as they looked. They were just hurt all fucking year. And then you go 2018, the Red Sox and Dodgers. What the fuck do I even have to say about that World Series? Then you go to 2017, the Dodgers and Astros. Again, I don't have to fucking say anything about that. They're fucking loaded. Let's go back to 2016. Cubs and Indians, 2 different teams finally.
Yeah, but the Cubs, like you hear Cubs and you hear Indians, you're like, well, the Indians haven't won since 1954. And at the time, the Cubs hadn't won since, 1908, I think? Or 1906, one of those 2 years.
Yeah.
This Cubs team had Anthony Rizzo, Addison Russell, Chris Bryant hit 40 home runs, Jorge Soler, Dexter Fowler, and Jason Hayward. That's probably the best defensive outfield in baseball that year.
They also had Javi Baez, I believe.
Javi Baez was coming off the bench. Wilson Contreras was getting at bats. This might be the most flexible World Series team I've ever seen.
Ben Zobrist.
Yeah, because of Ben Zobrist. His wife is quite flexible as well. But that's a whole other.
With the rules of marriage.
But they had 1, 2, 3, 4 dudes in the starting lineup get 200 or more plate appearances. Not in the starting lineup, get 200 more plate appearances. That's how fucking, and it wasn't because of injury. That's how flexible this team was.
And their starting rotation was John Lester, who's one of the best playoff pitchers of our era.
Jake Arrieta, too.
And then Kyle Hendricks and John Lackey. I mean, John Lackey, another great playoff arm.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Hendricks, just a good pitcher. Their bullpen, they brought over Aroldis Chapman from the Yankees that year, if you remember. And fucking Madden almost ran him into the ground, but he was still great. And then you're like, okay, well, the Indians are kind of always a cheap Midwestern team, small market, blah, blah, blah. Fuck that. They had Mike Napoli, Francisco Lindor, Jose Ramirez, fucking Carlos Santana, killers. And then Rajai Davis, who was a good role player.
Yeah.
But their rotation, Corey Kluber, Trevor Bauer, Carlos Carrasco, I mean, they were loaded. They brought over Andrew Miller in the bullpen. He had like one of the best years a reliever's ever had in the playoffs.
They got him from, the Yankees, I think? Is that right?
I don't remember. Man, did he come from the Yankees too?
I think so.
But both of these teams were stacked. Absolutely stacked.
Yeah, he came from the Yankees.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny that the Yankees had those dope relievers who couldn't do anything. The Indians even had a fucking he didn't really play much, but a young Michael Brantley was on that team. These teams were stacked. You have to go all the way back to 2015 when you have two teams that you can reasonably say had serious holes in there. With the Mets, great rotation, weak lineup, and with the Royals, that was just like.
But they had a good rotation and a great bullpen and great defense.
Yes.
And
the lineup was just kind of like plucky.
yeah. Yeah, but 1 out of 7, that's not much. That's like what, fucking 12.5%.
Yeah.
So.
But look at,
it seems like what you're saying is more often, well, not just more often than not, but most of the time, the two best teams from each league make it into the playoff or make it into the World Series.
It would seem that way.
Or the two, maybe not the two best teams, quote unquote, on paper, but the two best teams. It isn't a shitty team that just happens to be on a run, which has happened in hockey before,
Yes.
right? You just have a hot goalie and you make it into the third round because of your goalie, and then you get fucking annihilated by the better team.
I think you could even reasonably make that case with some of those Giants teams that won the World Series in the 2010s.
Yeah. The first one especially.
Yeah.
Before
the 2010 team.
Yeah, I don't think Buster Posey wasn't there yet, right?
No, he was there. He won the MVP that year.
But they had their starting first baseman was before Belt. It was Aubrey Huff, who had like
Yeah.
a mediocre season that year.
Yes.
And I think he was hurt for the World Series. I don't think he was even in the lineup.
It was a weak team.
Yeah.
I mean, even the rotation wasn't that great. Bumgarner was excellent, but this was Lincecum wasn't Lincecum anymore.
Yeah.
He was already sliding.
And their closer was that
Wilson was dope. Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson, and then the setup guy was Romo. So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I don't know about definitely in 10 and 12, those two guys were both good. Mm-hmm. I don't remember after
Wilson
that.
was gone by 12 already.
Where did
Sergio Romo.
Oh, that's right. He went to the Dodgers or some shit. Didn't
Some
he?
weird, yeah. But I mean, that 2010 team was more just like interestingly constructed. They had like Pat Burrell and shit like that. But the last 7 World Series have featured, I would say, both of the teams in the World Series for the last 7 years have been a top like 3 or 4 team in baseball in terms of talent. Even if they didn't perform like it because of injuries and stuff like that, just on fucking paper, like looking at them, you would think like that seems to be a top 3 or 4 team in baseball.
Yeah.
So I think it makes me even more nervous now for the playoffs, just because it's like I don't really think there's much of an excuse to lose to anyone in the National League. Anyone. Unless the Dodgers go insane at the trade deadline and basically reconstruct their rotation, I don't think we have an excuse to lose to anyone in the National League. And then, I don't know, call it 2 teams in the American League? Mm-hmm. The Rays and look, I'll never count the Astros out, so I'll say the Rays and Astros.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some other interesting teams. The Rangers, if they can figure out something with their rotation.
I don't think the Rangers can, with our lineup, I don't think they can trot out some version of their rotation they have now and hope to win over the course of
It'll be
games.
rough. I mean, if they happen to match up with a team that's struggling offensively at the time, or just pitching forward and less offense forward, maybe they got a shot, but probably not. I mean, I think the Astros sometime over the next month or so are going to take over first place in that division anyways. And all of the other teams that are super competitive this year, either have big holes or they're super young. Not that being super young is always a death sentence, but I don't see just like the Orioles have a really good lineup. I don't know about their rotation. I mean, Tyler Wells is having a great year, but aside from that, it's pretty lean in their rotation.
Mm-hmm. And the Orioles, by the way, almost certainly not going to have home field against anyone they play past the division series.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have it against the Rangers as of right now. They wouldn't have it, obviously, against the Rays. But we think the Astros, I guess, overtake the Rangers, so they wouldn't have it against them either.
Yeah.
This team it's not just regular season deep, the Braves. Mm-hmm. The Rays, too, for that matter. They are not just regular season deep. They are just deep, period.
I think the Marlins can be trouble in the playoffs, too. Probably not for us.
I mean, we are butt-fucking them in the regular season.
I
think we're 9-1 against them.
But
I don't. They could be trouble for teams, but like they're going to need a bat. I am not afraid of that lineup.
No, they need a bat. And I mean, Gene Segura's is having a shit year. Usually he's way better than this. I don't know what's going on with him.
I'm certainly not afraid of them in a 7-game series.
No. And Jazz Chisholm's been hurt pretty much all year too. That dude's made of glass.
Yeah, and look, their best hitter is probably it's either Soler or Rez, and Soler scares me, but he's kind of either a home run or I love him, but he's kind of either a home run or an out. Decent on base tool, but not amazing. And then Rez, oh no, he's going to hit a single, right? Like, okay, that sucks if there's a guy in second, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not concerned about them, but we'll see. Alcantara's still having trouble. He's still having command issues right now, but he's very capable. And then Jesus Luzardo was very capable, and Yuri Perez is also really fucking good. I mean, they've got 3 legit. The Luzardo and Perez are pretty young, and Alcantara, who's coming off of Cy Young, obviously is having a bit of a down season, but he's still who he is.
Yeah.
Those 3 guys that's right in the top 5 for top 3 rotations. And our top 3 of the rotation in all of Major League Baseball. So they can cause some problems.
I think they have serious bullpen issues.
They've got bullpen issues. They also have like 7 to 9 hitter issues. Joey Wendell, I don't give a fuck about that. Like and then for a 1990s team, Joey Wendell at shortstop hitting 8th or something, that makes total fucking sense. But these days, I just don't. That doesn't fucking do anything for me.
They also, I will say this about the Marlins, great year. Definitely a talented team, like no question about that.
I just think because of the front end of the rotation, they could be a problem for somebody in the playoffs.
Here's what I was going to say, and you can comment on this in terms of like what you think it might mean for the playoffs. Could mean nothing, could mean bad, could mean good. Freakishly good record in 1-run games this year.
Yeah, they've won. They're like 30 and what is
I mean,
it?
they are like 10 games over 500 in 1-run games or something crazy like that.
Let's see.
It is
expanded. They are 21-5 in 1-run games. But that's like having a super high BABIP. You know, it's like that probably isn't sustainable. Sometimes it's a sign that you're really good. But if you look at the other really good teams in baseball, like the Rays are 14-15 in 1-run games, do you think that the Marlins are better than them?
Right.
That's obviously not the case. So,
well, did you see their most recent 1-run win?
The Rays?
No, the Marlins.
No.
It was on that Cardinals throwing error where Jordan Hicks throwing it over the head of Goldschmidt, but like with a lob.
Yeah.
And it went, for those who didn't see it, look it up. It's you would be pissed off at your little leaguers for this happening. The winning run scored from first base on a throwing error. And yeah, it was a 1-run win. I mean, that's literal luck, right?
Yeah.
Like that's.
Yeah. If you look at, there's a metric, expected win-loss record. It's kind of like fielding independent ERA, basically. For the Braves, their expected win-loss is 58-28, which is exactly what their win-loss record is. For the Marlins, their record is 51-38, and their expected win-loss is 43-46.
So they're about 8 games better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're getting quite a bit of help.
Yeah.
From circumstance, I guess. I don't know.
And look, maybe they make a move. I hope. Well, I don't hope they make a move, I guess, but I guess I hope for their fans and for baseball they make a move. They certainly are capable of, with that rotation, like you said, they're capable of doing something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But there's no team in baseball that fucking worries. I mean, the other best team in baseball are the Rays, and I don't fear them to be honest. Not with this Braves team, but we'll see. There's a lot of time left. There's a whole half a season to go. Got to stay healthy. You got to stay in a groove.
Teams are going to get healthy. Teams are going to make moves. I'm specifically the two teams that scare me are in terms of what happens when they get healthy and or make moves are the Dodgers and Astros.
Yeah,
and the Phillies. Actually, to be quite honest, they're
Don't catch us in a 5-game series again.
Oh boy,
we were tired, man.
I just the Phillies. They got to get it together, man.
They're in danger of missing the playoffs.
Yeah, mostly Schwarber has got to get it together. I don't know what he's done historically.
But
like he usually has he's a slow starter. Even last year, he had a good season last year. He had 46 home runs, but 169 in April, 196 in May. Better in June, but July he hit 168 last year. It's like gets better as the season goes on, but you got to get better now, dude. You guys are behind. Like, you can't afford to do this shit.
I mean, it seems like there's going to be the Marlins are, barring a collapse, are going to be a wild card team, and then there's 3 teams in the West, right? Like the Dodgers, Giants, and D-backs aren't fucking around. So the Mets are cooked, and the Central's only sending one. So yeah, man, the Phillies got to. I would hope if I was a Phillies fan that they'd be making moves with that, especially with the lineup they have, like Real Muto and everybody else, and like it's not old, but it's older. Like there is a window with them, you know.
Yeah.
So you would think.
Yeah, and also for the Phillies, Bryce Harper's got to start doing something. I mean, I know he's coming off an injury, but I need to see a little bit more power. Because there has been none.
Yeah.
I don't know what his. Let me see if I can see what his exit velo has been this year. K rate, exit velocity. His average exit velocity is down about 2 miles per hour this year over last year. And his launch angle dropped from 11.8 to 8.
That seems like it might be more troubling than 2 points on the exit velo.
I mean, that's a timing issue probably. Yeah. He's just getting out in front of the ball, or he's getting jammed a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe he figures that out. But when your 2 best hitters are both kind of struggling, obviously you're going to struggle.
Yeah, certainly. Well, that's all I fucking got.
Yep. Fuck.